I am Jehue Francois, CEO and co-founder of the Geaux Network. This is the 176th iteration of my original company. We've been trying to make a network that dispels negative stereotypes for multiculturals across the world. We want there to be a network that has the ability to showcase aspirational content for individuals that just live life differently. Now, when we say multicultural, we genuinely mean multicultural. For instance, individuals that are wheelchair mobile capable. They look at the world differently. They have to assess where they're going differently. Individuals that are blind, they have to assess the world differently, but they're never showcased properly. Everything is secondary to them. Entertainment is always secondary to them. People don't focus on how you portray them correctly. They just portray them as sidekicks or as another storyline, or when they're presenting it to them, they present it after they've already tackled the visual side of things. We look to try to be diverse in how we produce content for individuals like that and for individuals on a multi-ethnic plane. We want there to be less gangsters that look like me, less terrorists that look like Siraj, and less people that are gonna blow up the world because they get into emotional situations. That's what we're used to, and we wanna break that. The way I got into it was, at its core, it was out of spite. Somebody challenged me and said I couldn't do something, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it regardless. So it was a big, F you to them. And then it kind of spiraled into this original idea I had when I was a kid. And my team recently kind of said, let's go with your original idea because the other stuff isn't working out the way it should. And now we're here. And we're in this iteration. We have a visual streaming platform that exists. Kathleen and I have a very convoluted past. She is my bully, and I married her, and she's also my co-founder. So that's funny. And I'm not going to get into that because the wounds are still fresh. And I think that's it, really. So, Kat, it's now your turn.
Well, you put me on the spot here. Sorry, guys. Okay, so like Jehue said, I'm also the co-founder of Geaux Network. And the product I'm currently focused on is, like he said, our video streaming platform. So before we met, I attended Emerson College and I was majoring in broadcast journalism. And while at Emerson College, I was working at the radio station throughout my entire time there, 88.9. And also I also worked with WEBN, in which I produced a series for them too called Every Woman Has a Story. So basically what I was doing was highlighting different women and how they overcame like the certain obstacles in their lives. So that introduced me to, producing in video. And I'm like, oh, I love this. The fact that you can have a story and, make it what you want, and I just love I thought I would like being in front of the camera, but I realized I love the behind the scenes a lot more because it's much more fun to start something from the ground up and build it to what you need it to be. And never in a million years did I imagined that I would win an award for that show. So we won like an Associate Press Award for that show. And then we won another journalism award for that show, which was like amazing for me, right? And then as I graduated Emerson College, I started working on various other like media related companies and stuff like that. And Jehue reached out to me because at the time his company was an audio company, and he reached out to me because of my presence and my following in the Boston area as a radio.
And I didn't remember who you were at the time, so there's that.
That's another story we can say for the end if you guys want to hear that. So Jehue reached out to me because of his audio company, and he was just looking for more personalities to have on air for his company. He reached out to me, and I'm like, you know what? I love the idea. Yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. So I visited Jehue. I saw their studio, and I was like amazed because it's just like these two young men, Jehue and his other co-founder Dimitri, that were building this audio company, and they've reached millions of listeners before. At one point in time, they had 5 million listeners. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is fantastic. The fact that it's you guys that's building this company and you don't have like this huge like iHeartRadio behind you and you're doing this. So I became a part of the company. I started hosting my own radio show there. And then at some point in time, as we started to grow together, Jehue realized like, oh, okay, well, she's just not a personality. It seems like she has more of an entrepreneurial spirit, because at the time I was trying to set myself up as a personality. I'm hosting fashion shows, I'm doing this, that, and the third. And I just wanted to, I'll say this, I've always thought of Oprah because she's the face and owner of her own company. And I'm like, oh, I want to be that. That's who I want to be. You know what I mean? And so Jehue told me about, what they wanted to do in the future and how I can be involved. And I jumped at the opportunity because I'm like, I would definitely like to be part of a company that's willing to change the world. And that's what I want to do. I want to change the world, especially, when it comes to representation in the media, because at the end of the day, I got into media entertainment because of Oprah. I saw her on TV and I'm like, oh, Mom, that's who I want to be. I'm going to be the next Haitian Oprah. and so I followed the suit. And so I started growing the company with Jehue, and we just really been working hard at it. Obviously, like, being an entrepreneur is not the easiest thing, as well as marrying the CEO, not the easiest thing either. So it's just like, us, not only do we take, do we have work, at our office, but also work is taken home. So it's just like, hey, did you get to do this assignment that was scheduled to you? So it can be hard, but at the same time, it's great too, because it's just like, wow, we're building a company together. So therefore, like, we're building legacy, for our future children. And that's what we're doing this for. The fact that we want to change the world. So therefore, when our kids are growing up, they're not looking at what mainstream media is pushing. I don't know about you guys, but I remember in the 90s, I'm a 90s kid. Watching in the 90s, there were a lot of like sitcoms, positive sitcoms, like, the Parenthood and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, like, I love it. Like, Robert Townsend was one of my favorite producers because he's producing these shows that I can aspire to, that I can, look at and like, oh wow, look at how this family dynamic works. But then somehow throughout the 2000s, you see this reality TV, ratchet TV, and it's just like, oh, that's not it. That's not what I want to do. So that's why we're building this. We just want to change the world for everybody. We want people to see themselves truly in the content that they're watching. We want to see more women in these leading roles. And I appreciate, the content creators and the filmmakers out there that are trying to do that. They just need a platform. And we believe that we can be that platform to do that, to help them along their journey. So that's my little tidbit here.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing.